Hello everybody and welcome back to Town of the Whovians United. Today I'm going to review Season 1 of Classic Who with a special guest.
Hello everybody, today I will be joining you and Corey for this review of Doctor Who Season 1, all the way back from 1963 and 1964. My name is Christopher and I run the channel Dallin Reviews, where I primarily review Doctor Who. I've been reviewing classic Doctor Who actually for the past year and a half. I'm currently on Season 4, going through every episode of the show, even the missing ones. I also review the new show as it comes out, and I discuss other random shows. If I want to talk about them, then I will, because I like talking about TV, and today I'm super excited to be talking with you and Corey about classic Doctor Who Season 1, the one that really started it all. So I want to talk about the Doctor throughout Season 1. Now, William Hartnell very much was the first actor to ever portray this role. He started this character out, and there were no intentions really of having anybody else play this part. It was his character, the Doctor, and he really made it his own. And I really like what he did in this first season, because he starts off very stern and very crotchety, the way that people always seem to describe him, but really, as he interacts with these companions, he kind of gets a little bit more humanized and becomes more warm. And I really enjoy how through the companions, William Hartnell brings out just this more joyous energy from the Doctor throughout. We kind of see that start to happen throughout Season 1, and I really like the glimpses of that we get. I also enjoy the darker stuff that we get with this Doctor, particularly early on in An Unearthly Child, but I love how throughout the whole first season, he gets more lighthearted and he starts to enjoy things more, and he's not always trying to ditch these companions. He is able to have a little bit of fun with them.
I've got to say I 100% completely agree. My favourite part about the Doctor in Season 1 is his development, from a stubborn, grumpy, nasty old man to a bit more of a caring and warm grandfather figure towards the end. My favourite part, my favourite scenes of the first Doctor in Season 1 has got to be his chats and discussions with Ian in An Earthly Child, trying to make him believe that time travel is real and making him look like an idiot. It's quite hilarious to watch. I just really love it. He really stands his ground, does what he can to try and prove his point, and when he knows when Ian isn't believing it, he just makes him look really stupid. So for me, the first Doctor developed quite a lot in Season 1, and I love that.
So when talking about these companions, first let's talk about Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter. I enjoy her in this season a little bit, but she's super mixed for me, honestly. I like this kind of energy and positivity that she has, this sort of awe and inspiration in the universe, but also she just overreacts all the time and freaks out, which is understandable because I think she's only 16, but it's not very enjoyable to watch a lot of the time. Ian is also a little bit of a mixed bag, but a little more positively so. I enjoy him, and he is a little bit headstrong. I just don't connect with him as a character the way I want to, but the best thing about him is that he has really good chemistry with Barbara, who is my favorite companion of this season. I really like her, and I think it's really just down to the performance. She does overreact a little bit to some situations, but she does not do it to the extent that Susan does, and I think she just has a certain level of togetherness that I really admire, and just a level of charisma that just kind of draws me to her character. It's hard to pinpoint exactly why, but I really like Barbara as a companion.
So my opinion differs very slightly. So Ian is my favourite companion. So the Doctor's got the brains, he's got the brawn. He's very good with his practical solving skills, very good practical leadership. He's very, very practical. Barbara, loving and caring, always acts with her heart and her mind. Good at solving problems, got some really good some thinking skills. Whereas Susan, his granddaughter, very annoying. Overreacts quite a lot. The screaming is quite nearly unbearable. Seriously. every little thing screaming, grandfather. No, it's just, it's not for me, really. So yeah, Ian's the best companion, then it's Barbara, then it's Susan.
So concerning villains throughout the season, this might actually be the weakest aspect of this first season of Doctor Who. There aren't a lot of memorable villains. There's a couple of human villains like in the Reign of Terror, the Aztecs, or even something like An Unearthly Child, and they're really not that memorable to me. But there is one standout villain who I'm going to be talking about, which is my absolute favorite, and of course it's the Daleks. The Daleks, in the episode of the Daleks, are great. They're a great villain. Their introduction is fantastic. I love the first shot that we see of a Dalek, and we do spend a lot of time showing just how dangerous they are in this first story. It's a really solid introduction to them as a foe, and it kind of sets them up as very dangerous. It's maybe the worst situation that the companions and the Doctor get into throughout this season. Arguably, you could make a case for a couple of others, but I think this is probably the most dangerous situation that they got in throughout this first season, and it was made very clear by how well the Daleks were shown on screen.
This is where we disagree the most, you and me, Christopher, because I like the villains a bit more than you do. My favourite villain is Latoxel from the Aztecs. He's vicious, he's menacing, he's dirty, he's a horrible person. He will go to any length to get what he wants. He tried to poison Barbara to prove she was a false god. He's an awful guy. But for me, the Daleks, really like the Daleks, they got a really good introduction. The only issue is, because they are towards the end of their life, they're quite flawed because they're not as powerful as they used to be. Which is great because it then leads the Daleks to have better and stronger stories in the future. But for me, yeah, they showed their power and their capabilities, but they probably weren't as strong as they could be due to the flaws in their current condition. So yeah, Latoxel's the best, Daleks is really good, but the other ones are pretty cool, like the Sensorites are pretty good. The Vorlid is quite underused, so overall, pretty good in my opinion. And a bonus side note, the Warlord Tagana. Jesus Christ, yeah. He's almost on the same level as Latoxel. So, yeah, bonus mention. That is an honourable mention there. Warlord Tagana. Do not mess with him. So, in 8th place, I've put the Reign of Terror. Quite tiring and long, I think.
Lastly, I will have the Sensorites, which I think is a rather boring episode. Even though the first part is great, it spends 2 hours doing basically nothing.
7th is An Unearthly Child. Part 1 is great. Part 2, 3, and 4, not so great.
The Reign of Terror, this is a really enjoyable story. It overstays its welcome a little bit, and it is a shame that it's missing, but I like it, and I think it has a fun setting.
In 6th is the Sensorites. Quite fun, to be honest.
An Unearthly Child, also a great first part, but the following 3 parts do bring it down a notch.
The Daleks, enjoyable, but slightly too long by 2 parts, I think.
The Keys of Marinus, this is just a really enjoyable, fun story that kind of goes all over the place and brings you to a bunch of different locations that I had a lot of fun with.
4 is Marco Polo, adventurous.
Marco Polo is sadly missing story and a really engaging one, even though it's 7 parts long, with a good supporting cast.
3, The Keys of Marinus, a lot of variety, a lot of different things going off, which I really like in that episode, in that story.
The Daleks. This one is a really good introduction to the Daleks, even though it's slightly longer than it needs to be at 7 parts.
Number 2 is The Edge of Destruction. I put creative.
The Edge of Destruction, a really tight bottle episode of the show that I just think really shows off all of these characters and the best and worst aspects of them in a great way.
But number 1, 10 out of 10, is The Aztecs. Absolutely fantastic, excellent all-round story.
And my favorite one of this whole season was The Aztecs, which is an excellently paced 4-part story, which deals with what kinds of things you can actually mess with when going back in time. And I love the stuff with Barbara and the Doctor in this episode. This is, I think, a really good season, and I will give Doctor Who Season 1 a rating of 7.75 out of 10. A really good introduction to this show, and does a fantastic job of setting up the world of Doctor Who. So let's take a little bit to go over to Twitter with reactions from some people over there. This is from Justin. He says, Ian and Barbara and Susan are great. I love the introduction of the Daleks. Also, the first Doctor is the king of sass. Oh, it turns out the fluid link worked perfectly. I genuinely wish I could go back and tell them what an impact their first season would make on not just the history of television, but media in general, and the world as a whole. Yeah, I totally agree, Justin. I think they've made a huge impact on television. I wish they could all know just how big of an impact they have made. And thank you very much for sharing, Justin.
So first up, we've got Joe Street. Hashtag the confused adipose. Go check him out. Great channel. So he says, love An Unearthly Child and bits of the Daleks, but to be honest, most of it is a bit meh. So yeah, I do agree on the Unearthly Child, and yes, Daleks is it's a bit too long. 2 parts too long in my opinion, but most of season 1 is a bit meh. I don't agree with that. Nah, not a chance.
This is from Canadian Geek. They say, I've only seen 4 adventures from Season 1, An Unearthly Child, the Daleks, the Edge of Destruction, and the Aztecs. Hartnell is much more prickly, especially at the beginning, than most Doctors. Stories usually are much simpler than modern Who, and not much focus on the Doctor himself. That's very true, we do get a lot of emphasis on the actual stories, even though the Doctor is throughout the whole show. Thank you very much for sharing, Canadian Geek.
Next up, Steve Dillon. Revolutionary, visionary television. That is poetry. If I've ever heard it, poetry. That's all I gotta say. Poetry. Love that, Steve Dillon. Okay, insert funny and witty reference here. Okay, he says, or she says, in places brilliant, in others low budget and slow paced. Fair enough. It is worth remembering, however, that relative to TV at the time, its pacing and budget was the norm. Correct. A fair bit of padding, but a huge amount of potential, and it set a template for things to come. Absolutely agree.
Michael says this. A perfect first episode to launch a show. 4 excellent regular cast members. Hartnell owns the part of the Doctor from the first scene, and it's a season brimming with ideas. Also, Delilah's theme tune is still timeless and has never been bettered for any TV show. I think you're right there, Michael. The theme tune is utterly fantastic, and Hartnell really just gets the part right out of the gate.
The City of Jeff. He says, an example of television being made on a shoestring budget, but with vision, heart and soul. Oh yeah. A massive undertaking that was never a guaranteed success, yet developed into a show we talk about, and nearly 60 years later, it may not be perfect, but oozes imagination, atmosphere, and class, with stories having to be written with little notice, an educational and entertaining remit. This was essentially filler TV, commissioned to fill a gap in the schedule that far exceeded its remit. It's beautiful, I love it, and I can't wait for the Blu-ray. Awesome stuff there. Brilliant, brilliant wording there, City of Jeff. Okay, and finally we've got the Whovian with a small collection, put on a massive thread on his review of every single episode, every single story. I'm not going to read it out because you know what? It is quite long and we can't read everything, but you know what? Shout out to you, my friend, for putting a full review thread on your thoughts and opinions. You're not well done. I really love that.
Well, I think that does it for this review of Classic Doctor Who Season 1. I hope you enjoyed joining us for this review. I want to say thank you to everybody who submitted their thoughts via Twitter, and also just a massive thank you to Corey for inviting me on here to discuss Classic Doctor Who Season 1. I really enjoyed the season, and I had a lot of fun discussing it with you, and I hope to see you around soon for more Classic Doctor Who discussions. But again, just a massive thank you to Corey for inviting me on. It was a blast, and yeah, take care, everybody. I hope to see you all around soon.
Before we finish up, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Christopher Darlam Reviews Who for being a great guest star on this video. You have been absolutely fantastic, great opinions and well put across. So if you've not seen his channel, go and subscribe, go and check him out. Great guy, does lots of great content around classic Doctor Who. Go and do it. So there you go, guys. What did you think of Season 1 of Classic Doctor Who? Let us know down in the comments below. Subscribe if you like Doctor Who videos and content like this, because this is a channel that does absolutely amazing Doctor Who content, as you will know. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. See ya!